everyone, Dave Wiggins here on behalf of We Are Ports. I've got three guests for you this evening, and I'm very glad to have them with us tonight. And all of them you will know to varying degrees. One of them is currently living all of her dreams. But first of all, we have got, so tonight we're going to be sort of focusing on Portadown Youth and what that is and how that's set up. And the first guest is the chairman. You're the chairman, aren't you, Alan?
No, I'm not the chairman. I'm vice chairman. The chairman's a lot more important than me.
All right. Is the chairman on the screen below you there?
He is indeed.
So we're going vice chairman first then. So Mr. Alan Curran, how are you?
Yes, doing well, Dave. So I suppose I'm vice chairman of the club and then also coach with the 2008 age group. So that would be the roles that I would have within the youth setup.
Yeah. In any organisation I'm involved with, the vice chairman does more work than the chairman. So on that note, our next guest is Mr. Gary McCullough. How are you, Gary?
I'm fine, thanks.
That's good.
I'm glad Alan Curran is the vice chairman because he's a hard-working lad, and it's great to have somebody who does all the work.
And absolutely, and all joking aside, I know you've worked very hard as well. So you're very welcome tonight. And the third guest who I said was living all of her dreams is the Portadown captain, Mr. Luke Wilson. Hi, Luke. How are you?
I'm good, Dave. Can't complain. Surviving without football, just about.
Just about. I know. And we're going to have to talk about your head. So you've had the lockdown shave.
I just thought I'd whack it all off at the start of lockdown there, and I've grown to like it, so I think I might keep it.
Yeah. It gives you that wee edge. It makes you look even harder than you are. So that's,
Young Stephen Gerrard, no?
There you go. Fair enough. Not a bad role model. So we've got plenty of questions for these guys tonight. We asked them to come on tonight because Portadown Youth is such a massive organisation, really, and with strong links to Portadown Football Club. So we're going to talk about some of those things. So some of your footballing backgrounds, I suppose, Alan. How did you end up in the role of vice chair of Portadown Youth? Take us back to the start there. Take us back to the glory days.
Probably, I suppose, way back my first introduction. I suppose we look at what we have now, youth football wise. Portadown Youth is about 250, 260 kids. My introduction probably similar to Guy. Youth football, CB football back in the day.
Yeah.
I would have played at Eden Methodist.
So here.
Probably played against yourself, Dave. I know you you're a wee bit younger than me, but
I never played against you. I was just a couple of years too young for that.
You were aspiring to be me, is that what it was?
Well, it could be. It could be.
No, so I would have played youth football and then played around a few teams, junior football in town, and had always coached at different bits and pieces whenever I was away at university and stuff. So whenever I came back, I obviously wanted to get into it, and I got into it at Portadown Youth. So probably been there 7 or 8 years now. And really, I suppose initially just as a coach. And then once Gary McCullough asks you a question, you can't really say no. So came on the committee probably 2 years ago now, and then about a year after that, took on vice chairman role whenever Gary McGee stepped down.
Yeah.
So that would be how it's come about,
Yeah, and it Portadown Youth specifically because you've been a Portadown fan your whole life.
Yeah, I think that was really it. In terms of, I suppose, first memories are yonks ago, like sort of 86, 87, going and watching games with my dad. I think I can even remember games whenever Terry Kingham was manager, so it is quite a while ago, and you build up an affinity with it. So whenever you know that there's a youth team attached to that and you're interested in it, it's good to be involved. And it's, it's that bit, I suppose we're a big enough club, and the aim is to get, players like Luke through, and to have, a former youth player who is a captain of the club is fantastic for us. It really shows what can be achieved. and it's that bit. There'll be a small number of people who achieve that, and it's great to see Luke doing that and doing it week in, week out. And it's also then about giving others the opportunity, just to get involved in football and hopefully keep playing football as they grow older.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Al. Gary, you're trying to get rid of your dog.
Can't get rid of that dog, Paul.
Right. I'll go on to look for a wee second until you get set. Look. How old are you now? 21?
20.
20.
It was turned 20 not so long ago.
Like I said, you're 20 years old. You're the captain of Portadown Football Club, something we've all dreamt of being in our lives. So how did you come to be the captain of Portadown Football Club? How did you get to be where you are now?
Well, I started off at Tandragee at youth level, so that was when I was about 5 or 6. That's when I first started playing football, and then I signed for Portadown youth team. And initially I was playing a year up, so I was playing Boulder boys and boys much bigger than me and stuff. And then I went to Ridgeway for a couple of years before coming back and playing under the likes of Gary, the reserve team. And then Gary and Pizza just pushed me through, and then there was a link between the youth team and the first team through Trevor. So he helped me bridge that gap between the youth team and first team, got me the first minutes for the team. Like.
Yeah.
And
Do you remember the first time you played for the senior team?
I think it was from coming off the bench against Ballymena. Got 10 or 15 minutes. That's my very first appearance, but then the first start.
Do you know who the manager was at that moment?
Trevor, was it?
I think it was.
Perfect.
I know that because when he was on here a couple of weeks ago, he said
He was
it was a proud thing for him to be able to give you your first opportunity there, which you've obviously taken and carried on from there. So how long ago was that?
My first appearance must have been, I just turned 17 maybe, and then I think the following season actually I got my first start. It was against Carrick, and I scored a winner that game. So first start winner, and then I played a few games the rest of that season, and then just from there I've just been in the team ever since.
Brilliant. We're glad you are, and we're proud that you are the captain, and you've come up and had such an association with Portadown from a young age through the youth and everything, and it's great to see that you're the captain of the senior team, and hopefully, and I'm sure you do, inspire other young guys coming through, because they can, I presume the youth coaches can point at people like Luke and say, if you knuckle down and have fun, but try your best, this is the opportunity that you could have. Gary, well, you've got settled again there. Yeah. So Gary, tell us about your football in life and how you've come to be the chairman of Portadown Youth. You're obviously in terms of football, you're from the Portadown McCullough family, who we all know is a big family of football in Portadown, really.
Yep. Well, originally, my first interest in football was probably way back when I followed Portadown, when my dad took us to the games when I was very young, maybe 6 or 7. And from then on, it was just football. Myself and my brother both played for Portadown when we were maybe 17, 18 for 3 or 4 seasons. And then we drifted away for a few seasons, and eventually I came back on a coaching capacity, really, through Portadown Boys. And then from Portadown Boys, I came back again to Portadown Youth, and Trevor Williamson, Ronnie McFall persuaded me to take the reserves for a couple of years, which was great, although they were really struggling at the time because we weren't at that time producing that many good youth players, but the few that we did get through were great. And then there was a really good batch, which included you, included Luke, and 2 or 3 others, and that was with Peter Mullen mostly, wee bit with Neil McCullough. And from a coaching point of view, it was probably the last year or so of that was probably as good as what I experienced as a coach, because we were working with a really good group of young players, and The football that they were playing was great. Pizza was super coach. And then bringing Neil in at the end was probably a really good thing as well, because he's great experience with the numerous clubs, but winning the league with Portadown was a big thing that he could always have words of advice for kids that are coming through.
Yeah.
But at that particular time, there was a really good group of players, and Luke being one of the main ones at that time, and he has done ever so well to get through and do so well to hold his place in the first team, but not really a big surprise.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. And I probably didn't know all of those things about y'all, so it's good for us to get to know y'all a little bit better. So somebody, I don't know, Alan or Gary, give us an overview of Portadown Youth. So there's, from age 5 years old, I presume, right up to senior team level. Alan, maybe you want to take that on?
Yeah. So we first take the kids in at sort of 5 and 6, and then they'll come into the GDC, which is the Grassroots Development Centre.
Mm-hmm.
And it runs from under 6 through to under 10. Under 7s, under 10s, then playing matches on a Saturday morning for an hour at central locations across, I suppose, the whole Mid-Ulster area.
Yeah.
Then once we move from that, under 10s, you go under 11s, under 12s, or 9-a-side. So in the majority of years, we'll have a couple of teams at each of those groups, generally playing either Lisburn League, Mid-Ulster League, or National League. And then I suppose the first time they go 11-a-side is at under 13. And the youth operates the teams from under 13s to under 17s, but we'll also this year then take on responsibility for the under 18 teams. And hopefully next season, both are under 18 and under 16. We will have teams in the Niffle Academy leagues. So our teams this last couple of years have been playing in National League, but hopefully we'll get those in the Niffle Academy leagues. That'll be one or two ways, either through the senior team promoting, gaining promotion, or we've an application in to be one of 2 teams outside of the Premiership who are academies, or academy teams.
Yeah.
So generally those teams, then we train at Brownstown on from a Monday to a Thursday, and then games could be all over the country on a Saturday, and we've roughly about 50 coaches. Assistant coaches, parent helpers, who coordinate all those teams then on during the week and on Saturday mornings, and they're all doing that on a voluntary basis. And without them, we wouldn't have the team. So they're a key part of the jigsaw, as are the parents, in terms of bringing the kids to training and to their
when you think about the number of volunteers in the like of Portadown Youth, like it's amazing the number of volunteer hours that get put in a week, even, never mind over a year or whatever. It's amazing, really. And the time, it's not just the hour on the Saturday morning, sure it's not.
No, I think that's
driving here and there, and
it's a big commitment, but hopefully they all get the rewards out of it, in terms of seeing the kids develop. Kids will all develop at different stages, and I think we have a lot of good coaches there who can oversee that. We have a lot of guys in that coaching group who have experience at all different levels. With Gary and Trevor, experience, at an Irish League level. You have Nicky Griffin, who's done it all with Loughgall and other teams as well. So we're really fortunate with the coaches that we have. Keith O'Hara's been taking the 16s with a couple of other people there as well. So we're fortunate with who we have, and they bring to the club, a lot of experience, but also a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
To see the kids develop. So
brilliant. So it's there's a lot of work goes on there behind the scenes, really, a massive amount of work. So brilliant, and a big thanks to all the parents and coaches and helpers and everything. But like you said, I'm sure whenever their team does well on a Saturday, whether they win or lose, maybe if they see that they're passing well for the first time, or they're there's plenty of cohesion. They probably get a smile out of it, and I think that's why people volunteer, isn't it? Because they enjoy it. You know, not too many people just do it out of a sense of duty. You have to enjoy these things, and yeah, and you see that at the sidelines on a Saturday too as well. Gary, how does Portadown Youth link to the senior team then?
Well, the link generally to the senior team probably is from 18s, maybe even from 16s probably through to 20s now. But we've probably produced a lot more players in the past sort of 3 years from getting players through from good coaches that were in the youth, and invariably then you end up with better players. And we've had a host of players come through: Ryan Carmichael, Luke Wilson, Zach Wilson played for the first team, Natus McCullough played for the first team, Ryan Carmichael, numerous others that have dipped their toe one way or another, and some of them have moved off to other clubs. But it's great that they're getting opportunities now, which they never got for a very long time at Portadown. Now, to be fair to Matthew Tipton, he's been instrumental in giving them opportunities, you know, but I think a lot of credit has to go to the coaching side, and more than anything, probably Peter Mullen. Trevor's always pushing for the youth, to be fair to him, and Peter Mullen's coaching is first class, and it nearly enables the boys to be prepared when they do step up, that they're ready to be able to develop into first team players. You know?
Yeah, good. Does it give you guys, so you know there's only a certain number of players who can end up in Portadown senior team, for example. There's players who step in there and stay there, Luke Wilson, for example. There's maybe some other players who make it as far as the reserves, maybe into the senior team, play a little bit, and then maybe don't cement their place straight away. Does it still give you guys joy to see those players maybe going and playing for the like of Vienna or other local clubs?
No, without doubt, I would say definitely without doubt that you still take a certain amount of pleasure out of seeing lads playing at the highest level that they possibly can. But I think there's also been ones that have been at the club. I'm thinking of Lee Bonus. Like, Lee was at the club. He wasn't really cutting it to get into the 18s and reserves, and he moved away, went into the Middlester League, done really well, and has come back, and he's really grabbed his chance. He's been unbelievable this season, you know. So it's not even a matter of when they leave that there isn't an open door for them again. Like, if they're doing well at another club, they can get back in. But I know what you mean, Dave, that you can't always produce players every year that's going to fill your first team, because it's not, nobody's capable of doing that. But you always want them to still have some sort of an affinity to the club, or even have a wee soft spot for the club. And in the future, if they're doing really well, that to come back is a great thing. If they don't come back as a player, to come back as a coach would be really good from our point of view. You know?
Yeah, I think Dave, in terms of that, it's a bit that Gary says there. You know, they'll not all do that. You know, they'll not all go and play for the first team, but it's great to have examples of those that do, and different examples of that in terms of the like a Luke and, you know, Lee Bonus there at the minute. But it is that bit about, we know we can't do that for them all, but we're also trying to give them a love of the game and a love of the club, that actually, you know, if they don't play for the first team, well, hopefully they still come back through the gate to watch the first team. Yeah. And hopefully they can be the coaches or the vice chairman or the chairman of the future because they've enjoyed their experience so much, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of when you were talking there as well, I was thinking about player progression, you know, because there's been players there who at 18, I obviously watch Portadown most Saturdays when I can, but there's players who have come in through there at 18, 19, and you think to yourself, they're going to be an Irish League player for 20 years here, and they maybe fall away pretty quickly. Or, you know, there's kids I played with in primary school who now, Wesley Boyle was in my team, who obviously went on to play at the highest level that you could for a period of time. But there was other lads around there who at their age group in primary school were unbelievable, like head and shoulders above everybody else. So is there one formula for player progression, or why is it that some players maybe are excellent when they're younger, fall away a wee bit, or someone who, well, say, you mentioned Lee Bonus there, so someone like Lee who, you know, didn't quite, the first time round wasn't quite making it, but the second time round is doing absolutely brilliantly. What's the development of a player there? Is there a formula, or is it just individual?
It's probably individual, Dave, but in the cases that you mentioned there, like, I know there's lots of kids when they're 10, 11, 12 can be the best player or the player that dominates a game the most, but a lot of time that can be down to physicality, and he maybe doesn't develop from a footballing point of view then because he's physically stronger than everybody else, and eventually the other boys catch up with him. So this would be a lot to do with our thinking of playing young players up as early as we can, because some of them that are physically developed and physically capable of it at even 15, where you see this year Dane playing, the youngest player ever to play for Portadown, but Dane's built like bigger than some of the first team players, you know. So if they're physically, but if they're physically capable, then I think you've got to push them on early, and that's how to help the ones that are physically capable. The ones that aren't physically capable, Lee Bonus is a classic example. Not that he wasn't physically, he always was a wee tiger. As Luke will probably back you up on that, like, because he played in Luke's team, but he was always hard and he was always game, but he was never really big. He was small, but then when he went away and he was lost with Seagull there, I think, he came back and he was like really good build, really strong boy, and every bit as strong and capable of holding his own with the rest of the players. So that physical side of it is massive, but also he had the mentality where he was really hungry to do well, and you've got to have both those things. It's not, talent's great, and there's a lot of talented lads, just like you're saying, in football, but if it's just talent, many times they'll fall away to the ones that have got the desire and the hunger and have got the dedication to it, you know.
Yeah. Look, I'll come back to you there. So, so as a young boy when you were playing, did you always think to yourself, you know, I want to play for Portadown senior team, or I want to play for Liverpool? Did you have that desire even as a young boy to play at the highest level, or do you know when that kicked in for you?
To be honest, don't really know when that actually did kick in. It was always just being the best at my certain age group. Like, I just wanted to win trophies for the team I was playing for at the time. And I did that at a lot of youth teams I played with. We won the trophies. We were at Ridgeway. We were one of the best teams in the country, I'd say. And then we'd won the National League a couple of times. And then we came back to Portadown. Initially, we were losing quite a lot. We were struggling, but then as time went on, as we progressed and stuff, it just started to kick in. Like, the coaching that we received just started working.
The reason I'm asking that question is I'm sure we've all watched the Michael Jordan documentary at some stage during lockdown here, and you know, when you look at that, and we're talking basketball here, but we'll bring it back to football in a minute. You know, there was Michael Jordan, who it's very clear that he was just win at all costs. You know, that absolutely ruthless attitude. He didn't want anybody around him who didn't want to win. He didn't want anybody around him who was slack in any way, which, you know, his teammates probably loved him and hated him in equal measures because he gave them quite a hard time. So Portadown youth, you know, you want kids to come in there at 5 and 6 and 7 years old and have a good time, enjoy themselves, you know, get some exercise, learn some skills and some development. So I don't know if this is a difficult question, but where's the balance in all of that between, you know, players enjoying themselves and getting exercise and learning new things to that desire to want to win, you know? Or does that exist, or is that just something that's in people?
I think, you know, I suppose we've had many's a debate over this, you know, within the youth setup and stuff. But, you know, ultimately in them early years, it very much is about fun and getting them to learn the game and you know, learn the skills required for it. Kids are naturally competitive in everything they do, you know, so at times some of it can be in terms of the coaches controlling that, you know, in terms of, you know, if the team goes out and wins consistently every week and wins at large scores, they're not necessarily developing because they're not being challenged. And that's the thing that I suppose Gary's talking about in terms of players and, you know, challenging players by, you know, moving them into different environments or different positions. And I think that's where a lot of that comes down to the coaches that we have and those coaches looking up to other coaches within the club or learning from coaches within the club. And, you know, one of those, you know, guys talked about Peter and, you know, Trevor's another one of those, you know, and you have the discussion and you have the challenge, but ultimately the kids will want to win themselves, you know, but it's about doing that in the right way. And for us, the right way is about how we play the game. And, you know, Gary's a big, would push us a lot in terms of making sure that we're playing the game right, that we're trying to get the ball down and we're trying to play the game out from the back. You know, even if we're under pressure, let's still try and play it out from the back and keep possession of the ball as a means of trying to improve their game and their abilities. Would you say that's right, Gary?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. And the more you put players out of their comfort zone, the more that you test them. But getting more back to what Dave was saying about kids enjoying it, you know, when they get to 14, 15 and 16, you'll find that they enjoy learning the game just as much as anything. You know, they enjoy winning as they get older, maybe even more. When they're younger, but what Alan says is right. It's all about enjoyment, and the little bits that you can let them learn, the better. But like when they get to that age of sort of 12, 13, 14, 15, it starts to become a wee bit more serious, and hopefully not too serious, but a wee bit more serious. And then the better ones, you'll know, are driven and will take it serious anyway, you know.
I obviously never played football at a high level apart from 4th Portadown, Edenderry Presbyterian Boys Brigade. That's where I won a few things. And the Edenderry school team where Wesley Boyle you just got the ball to Wesley and then that was that really. Won a few trophies. Lurgan BB Old Boys reserves, and it was mostly a substitute for them. But regardless of that, you know, obviously all players can't make it to the highest level, but there's something really positive in life about being part of a team, isn't there? And yes, for us that's football, but whether it's hockey or rugby or basketball or whatever it is, it's a real positive thing. And especially for young people growing up and developing, we've talked about physicality, but there's the emotional development and probably other things as well that I don't even know about. But there was just something belonging to a team, being part of a team. Sometimes you were winning, sometimes you were losing, but being part of that was such a enjoyable part of growing up as well.
I think one of the things that we often look at is, you know, a lot of what they're doing in their teams is they're creating memories, you know, and we can see that more than ever now during this period, you know, through the clubs like Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and you're looking back at pictures of Luke and Lee Bonus in those teams whenever they were young fellas, and, you know, they're creating friendships from, you know, people from different schools are coming together. And, you know, certainly I know at the group I'm with, the 2008s and a few of the other groups have kept trying to do stuff through lockdown because the kids are all friends with each other, you know. So
I've heard you're a top baker now, Alan.
Well, I did make a massive mistake in the bake-off we'd done. So we done a bake-off for the kids where they all had to cook chocolate chip cookies, but I wrote down one of the ingredients wrong. So the parents were all putting 500 grams of flour in instead of 250. Quite quickly, one of the mums shouted, "Put a cup of water in and it'll be all right." So that sorted everybody out. But listen, those are things that the kids will remember. And there's probably numerous trips that maybe Luke has been on whenever he's been younger, and he thinks back to those and has memories from them. That's what it's about. It's about camaraderie as well as developing as young people, and I suppose developing as players, at whatever level that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask one more question on that one. Do you have to have the absolute want to win, that cutting edge, to progress into adult football? Like, are there players playing at the top level in Irish League who just enjoy it, whether they're winning matches or not? Or do most of them have that desire, like they're absolutely raging if they get beat on a Saturday?
I'd say Luke could answer that now.
Yeah, I think to make it in the Irish League, like, you definitely have to have the will to win. Like, new football, as it gets closer to adult football, you have to start teaching that desire to win. Like, because when you do get to the adult football, it is all about winning. Like,
yeah,
like the enjoyment doesn't really matter as much because at the end of the day, it's business. Like, you have to get the wins to win the league and make the fans happy.
I know it gets a wee bit more serious when you're an adult, I suppose. And is it still Luke, is it still enjoyable as well? Say you go out on a Saturday and you have a hard-fought 2-2 draw against somebody. Is there still enjoyment in that, or do you go away absolutely gutted, or can you look at it and go, we had a good time this afternoon?
Definitely depends. Like, if say we're getting beat 2-0 and come back and do 2-each, you obviously get some sort of buzz from that there. But most of the enjoyment comes from winning at the end of the day. Like, so
Yeah.
if you do get beat, it ruins your Saturday and ruins your Saturday night.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. So listen, it's really good to hear about the development there, and I love watching my wee boy plays on a Saturday morning too. And there's just so many kids playing football on a Saturday morning, and they're just running around having a good time. Most of them are having a good time. There's the odd wee tantrum, of course, if you're 7 or 8 years old and you have to be taken off the pitch for 5 minutes or whatever. But it's just such an enjoyable thing watching kids doing that. So, Alan, you there's a bit of a Portadown Youth and Portadown Football Club closer than ever, would you say? Senior club and the youth, and you're obviously, you represent the youth on the Portadown board of directors at meetings and things there.
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years, certainly Ronnie Steenson has been a big friend of the youth, in terms of the chairman of the senior club, and through that relationship, and then the relationship obviously with the Ted Clark Memorial Trust, and Edith there, we've tried to forge, I suppose, a closer relationship with the senior club. And then that has ultimately led to a position within the board. And again, I drew the lucky straw on that one. But it means that there's engagement going both ways on a regular basis, in terms of at the board meetings when they happen. We, our reports are there with a relationship with them. The guys of the media team have been down to the youth team to take some of the video footage and stuff. So to me, it's a lot closer as a club. Can we get more, closer as well? I think we can, and there's discussions ongoing around facility development, and that, that can be at Shamrock or away from Shamrock, and I think both options give the opportunity for the club as a whole to develop, so if, I know over the last wee while we've been talking about sort of one town, one community, one club, and that includes the ladies teams as well, so if we want to fully progress, then we have to progress as a collective. And ultimately, part of the youth's role is to get players such as Luke through to the first team and be the captain, and that for us is really good, and to do that as well as develop facilities around it will give us real strength moving forward.
Yeah, you're touching on my next question already, Alan. You're reading my mind, but just thinking about the future and facilities and that kind of thing. I obviously been in and around the club, and you guys rent out Brownstown 4G pitch 4 nights a week, would it be?
Yeah, 4 nights a week, and then we've obviously cost for all our teams down to their leagues, and there's costs then around pitch hire on a Saturday, referees fees. That, pitch hire would be our main cost, and pitch hire across the season for us, probably we've, I think, around 12, 14 teams from that 11s to 17s, and then your GDC centres.
Yeah.
Our pitch hire is tens of thousands of pounds.
I could well believe it. I'm sure it's an absolute fortune.
So the potential to have facilities of our own, or in partnership with somebody else, would be a real advantage to us, but also give us, I suppose, the ability to develop that bit around community and engage with the local community, and give us an ability to progress how we do things. Even the like of the 16s, 18s, bring them in for additional training. Diet, nutrition, physio, all those sort of things, strength and conditioning. We've relationships around strength and conditioning across the teams now at the minute, with some physical trainers across the town. Those are things that we can develop if we have our own facilities as well. So that's the ultimate aim, and it's people like Gary and stuff will drive us forward towards achieving that,
Yeah. Is Shamrock Park the goal for that? Is that the ideal place for that?
Yeah, I think we'll have to look at all eventualities. It's in terms of everything from available space and what do you want, and ultimately a lot of that is the discussion that we're involved with the board at the minute. I think there's opportunities to develop Shamrock Park. Again, a lot of these things will take a lot of money, and it's trying to access the correct grants to do that, and listen, we're working collectively with the board and the trust at the minute, to try and find the best solution for that, for everybody.
Yeah. Is central to that, somewhere to play football, a pitch basically. There's a big space there behind, well, as they call it, the practice pitch. There's a big space there, and there's obviously the main pitch as well. I don't know what the plans for that are.
That's part of the debate at the minute in terms of what those pitches and facilities look like. In terms of probably behind that training pitch, we're looking at a maximum size of a 9-a-side pitch. Similar to, I suppose, the 9-a-side pitch over at Lurgan Town. So that gives you some usage, but if you think of it, on a Monday and a Wednesday night, we have Brownstown from 6 to 9, 9:30. We've had an hour on a Tuesday night and a couple of hours on a Thursday night, and that's only the teams that we look after. The seniors then have a lot of pitch time. The ladies have a lot of pitch time. If we're all able to access the same facilities, that are our own facilities or facilities that we own in partnership with somebody else, then I wouldn't say we reduce our costs, because you always have to look at how you replace those facilities if you go 3G in a number of years. But even if it is your own facilities and you're paying for them, you're reinvesting in your own facilities. It makes a lot more sense, Yeah.
I don't know. Speaking personally here, when you go over to Lurgan Town to watch a match, and there's 2 4G pitches and a grass pitch and a clubhouse, and being able to generate revenue, fries in a bap, tuck shop, room hire, all of those things, and and
it's the bacon buddies you really go for, Dave, is it, rather than the football? Or
it's absolutely the bacon buddies, because it's so wide open over there. It's cold on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. But like you said, I see the future as the senior club and the youth and the ladies having a base, and it can only benefit each element of the club, because we all know Shamrock Park gets used every other Saturday during the season, and there's not really anything going on there. But if you ended up with people coming in there, hundreds of people coming in there every day, every evening, I presume then schools and other organisations would be able to use certain facilities if they happen during the day. It just means then Shamrock Park is being used as well, rather than sitting empty half the time. I think working together is what's going to achieve that. But of course, like you said, it takes money and grants and time and a lot of effort from a lot of people. Yeah, good stuff. What about volunteering opportunities in the youth then? Look, I presume that you have had good memories of memorable coaches down through the years, and people who, I just think volunteers in all organisations, they play such a massive role in young people's lives in terms of being a positive influence or giving them a little word of encouragement or whatever. Are there people who stick out in your mind, Luke, as coaches or helpers or down through?
Initially, Neil McCullough was a great help for me progressing, and then he helped me just progress at such a young age, and then coming back and then playing under Gary and Pizza. That's when I really first started to develop, and then obviously there's always been sort of first team players coming down and helping the younger ones, and at the minute now even we still try to do that quite a lot, where some players would go down to the youth teams and maybe take a session with one of the younger players, or even sometimes before we start Brownstown, we'd jump in for the last 10 minutes and just play a wee match with the kids, and then there's a lot of that. So.
There's I have certain memories of things in my head of that coaches, football coaches or BB officers or teachers have said one thing and it's stuck with you your whole life, and it's so important. So guys, if there was, say there's someone watching this and they're thinking to themselves, yeah, Portadown Youth, great organisation, good people, I'd love to get involved in that. What opportunities are there? And how would you say someone thinks to themselves, I'd like to start out as a coach some children football? What's the support that they would get to do that, and how would they go about that?
Well, to be fair, Trevor Williamson probably is the greatest fellow that we have at GDC level to help introduce those coaches into coaching with the very youngest ones. Trevor actually oversees an awful lot and goes through a lot of work during the year, but he would be the first sort of person that you would go to with that. But I mean, there are lots and lots of opportunities with any of the teams. We're never short of wanting people more help and we're wanting volunteers. It's vital. Obviously, a club can't run without it. So we would be pushing for anybody that's really interested in coaching, that we will give them opportunities first of all, and then badges further down the line if that's what their intentions are, to try and reach that level, But Alan, maybe you can go a wee bit deeper in that,
Yeah, I think
Alan was even just thinking there too, someone who doesn't necessarily want to be the next, I was going to say the next Roy McFall or the next Matthew Tipton or whatever, just want to dip their foot in, get involved, and
yeah, listen, there's an abundance of opportunities within the youth, in terms of for people just to help out with coaching, or as Gary says, the league. There's all those opportunities. I think wider than that, there's other opportunities. In terms of, at the minute we're probably quite a small committee, about 8 or 10 people, and if people out there have ideas from a business perspective, from a social media perspective, from bits and pieces that have come from the airports, have been great for us. But obviously we can only access the media team at certain times because they're really busy with the senior team. So if there's people out there looking to do different things, video analysis, all those sort of things, get in touch with us in terms of, and we'll have discussions and take those forward. We'll never say no to an offer of help, and there's help right across from coaching and volunteering in different roles, administrative, anything, so.
Yeah. How would they go about contacting the youth?
So we've quite a short club email, because it was the shortest we could get, but Portadown Football Club Youth at gmail.com. If they send an email in there, and we'll get back to them, and arrange a Zoom if we're still in lockdown, or arrange to meet them up at Shamrock Park and have a chat about who we are and what we do, and listen to how they think they can help, and get them on board.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm sort of come to the end of my own questions, but I wanted to say as a way of advertising something. So I sit in the committee of Portadown YMCA, and I know that Portadown Youth gave a very generous donation during lockdown as part of community efforts towards supporting people with food parcels and basic amenities. So thank you very much for that. That was very generous. But I was up at the YMCA the other day, and Darren was saying they had just got a little bit more funding, so there was actually pallets of groceries getting delivered when it was there. So if there is anybody associated with the youth or anybody watching this, if you do know someone in the local community who needs a little bit of help with a food parcel, then get in touch with, I suppose, any of you guys or me or Portadown YMCA directly, or any of those people, and they will sort them out. When do you see youth training resume?
I think we'll wait on guidance from the head in terms of that. When they'll come out with their, I know they've come out with protocols around the Premiership and the Championship, so there's protocols to come around January football return, so we'll see that. And hopefully it's sooner rather than later. I would imagine that for a while it will simply be training, and we might have to wait a while for competitive fixtures. But whenever it is, we've had a couple of meetings in the past week, and that has been part of our discussions in terms of making sure that we are ready, and we can offer the opportunity for kids to get out whenever it's safe to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it's an outdoor thing for most of your age groups, which might help things. And I get the feeling that some things will return with maybe slightly reduced numbers, or having to spread things out a little bit, and it'll all be down to that. And of course, the most important thing is keeping all the kids and their parents safe. So gathering in large numbers at the minute wouldn't be an ideal thing, I imagine. And I've seen lots of Portadown Youth TikTok videos, and I'm sure a lot of the kids are sick practicing the keepy uppies now. They just want to get out in a space and play together. And I suppose we want to reassure them that that's coming at some stage down the line. They'll get to play each other again. Luke, what about you? Are you missing playing in the senior team?
Definitely. Don't know what to do on the Saturday about it.
FIFA's just not the same, is it?
Nah, it's crap now. Can't see when it's come back either. Don't see how it's possible to come back till next season.
I don't think so either. So you'll obviously be hoping that Portadown get promoted before next season.
I don't care how it happens, as long as it happens.
Yeah, I think you guys have put in so much effort this season and played so well. It would be a real shame if that didn't happen. So hopefully it does. And do you, look, personal question, I suppose, do you care if you get to lift the trophy at the end of the season, or is promotion more important?
Promotion is definitely more important, but obviously it takes away from the celebrations, not being able to lift the trophy and gather for that.
Yeah.
And even if I did get to lift the trophy, it'd probably have to be social distancing as well. So
yeah, it's all.
You'd want to do that anyway.
I know. I'm sure. Was it the Austrian Cup final? Is that what it was? You didn't see it.
Yeah, we markers out for where to stand.
So they won the cup, and there's nobody in the stadium, but they had this massive big sheet out in the ground, huge, with just white circles in it. And so each player had to stand separately, rightly so, in this white circle, and they played crowd noises into the stadium, and they all sort of stood there, passed the trophy and held it up. And it's weird, it's weird. It's a strange time we're living in. Guys, anything else you want to say about Portadown Youth? I think we've covered quite a lot there in the last 45 minutes.
I know.
Brilliant.
I think we're done, yeah.
Yeah,
I've never heard the phrase. We must have covered it all pretty well. Well, listen, we wish Portadown Youth as an organisation all the very best, and all the success in the future. And as we move into a new season, whenever that is, if anybody wants to get involved, just get in touch. Give us the email address again, Alan, if you can remember it.
Portadown Football Club Youth at gmail.com.
Great. Or if they happen to bump into any of you, they can get in. Who else is on the youth committee there, just?
So we would have Noel Curran would be secretary, Simon Egan would be treasurer, and then Nicky Griffin, Jason Hall, Jeff Kerr. I'm going to miss somebody out.
You can't miss Trevor.
Trevor Williamson, and then Louise Davis would be our safeguarding officer, our club welfare officer. So.
Good stuff. I suppose one thing we didn't cover was if a parent had a child who was interested in getting started, how would they go about that?
Yeah, so probably the same, either send an email down or, keep an eye out on the social media of ourselves, and generally whatever we put out, the senior club retweets, and that'll let them know whenever things get started back up and how to come about. We've moved quite a bit of registration online over the last wee while, so that'll make things a bit easier too.
Brilliant. So listen, Gary, Mr. Chairman, and Alan, Mr. Vice Chairman, and Luke, living all our dreams as the captain of Portadown senior team. Thanks very much for your time tonight. I think you're actually having a committee meeting after this. Is that right?
Yeah. Right. Well, so, I'm getting messages on my phone. Where are you, boys?
So you've more talking to do anyway for another while. So listen, appreciate your time. I'll let you go. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
All the best.